A Catholic mission in the Belgian Congo. Dawn breaks over the compound where mixed-race children sleep in rows of iron beds. Today, several of them will disappear, loaded onto trucks, driven to the airport, flown to Belgium, separated from their African mothers forever, told their mothers are dead, told they should be grateful, told to forget they were ever African. These children have a name, Métis, mixed blood, the sons and daughters of Belgian colonizers and Congolese women, born from relationships that ranged from genuine love to systematic rape, raised in institutions designed to erase half their identity, and when Congo gained independence in 1960, forcibly removed from the only home they'd ever known, sent to a country that didn't want them, erased from official records, buried in Belgium's darkest secret. This isn't the story of a single forbidden romance. This is the story of thousands of Belgian men who came to Congo for rubber, ivory, and wealth, and who left behind children they refused to acknowledge. Thousands of Congolese women who had no power to refuse, no power to keep their babies, no power to fight the system that classified their children as problematic from birth. And thousands of children who grew up not knowing their mothers' faces, their fathers' names, their own histories. This is the story Belgium tried to bury for 70 years. The story of the Métis children, the stolen generation, the living evidence of colonial brutality that Belgium's government officially apologized for only in 2019. Let me show you why that apology came 50 years too late, and why justice remains impossible for the survivors who are still searching for their families. The year is 1885. King Leopold II of Belgium has just been granted personal ownership of the Congo Free State, a territory 76 times the size of Belgium itself. Leopold never visits Congo, never sets foot on African soil, but he sends thousands of Belgian men to extract its wealth, rubber, ivory, minerals. These men work as colonial administrators, military officers, missionaries, plantation managers, traders. Most come alone, without wives, without families. They're young, in their 20s and 30s, stationed in remote regions for years at a time. The Belgian government doesn't encourage them to bring European wives. Too expensive, too complicated. The tropical climate is deemed unsuitable for delicate European women. So these men are expected to live celibate lives in the jungle, surrounded by African women they legally own, women with no rights, no protection, no ability to refuse. What happens next is predictable, inevitable, and devastating. Some Belgian men form genuine relationships with Congolese women, learn their languages, respect their cultures, build lives together. But these are the minority. Most relationships exist on a spectrum of coercion. African women, working as domestic servants in Belgian households, have no power to say no when their employers demand sexual access. Women in regions controlled by the force publique, Leopold's brutal private army, face rape as routine military practice. Women whose villages produce rubber quotas understand that sexual compliance might protect their families from violence. By the 1890s, mixed-race children are being born across Congo. Thousands of them. The children of Belgian fathers and Congolese mothers. In Congolese communities, these children might have been integrated, raised by their mothers' families, accepted. But Belgium's racial ideology makes this impossible. Colonial authorities view Métis children as dangerous, too white to be fully African, too black to be fully European, living evidence of relationships that embarrass Belgium's claim to be civilizing Africa. Belgium creates a system to deal with the Métis problem. In 1896, Catholic missions begin establishing special institutions, homes for mixed-race children. The official purpose? To save these children from the degrading influence of their African mothers, to educate them in European ways, to prepare them for life as intermediaries between black and white worlds. The reality? These institutions exist to erase the evidence, to remove mixed children from Congolese society, to hide Belgium's shame behind mission walls. The system works like this. Colonial authorities identify Métis children, usually easy because of their lighter skin. Social workers, often missionaries, visit the mothers. They don't ask permission. They inform. Your child is being taken to the mission, for education, for opportunity, for their own good. If mothers resist, authorities threaten violence, threaten to arrest them, threaten their entire families. In most cases, resistance is impossible. These women have no legal rights over their own children, no lawyers, no courts that would hear them, no power whatsoever. Father Raphael de la Catoule, a Belgian missionary who ran one such institution, wrote in 1914, "We must separate these children from their mothers as young as possible. The longer they remain in African hands, the more difficult it becomes to civilize them." Civilize. That word appears again and again in colonial documents. As if loving your mother is barbarism, as if African identity is a disease requiring cure. By 1930, there are dozens of these institutions across Congo, in Katanga, in Equateur, in Leopoldville, now Kinshasa. Each houses between 50 and 200 Métis children. Some are government-run. Most are operated by Catholic missions, Shoat fathers, Josephite sisters, Redemptorist missionaries. The Belgian state pays the missions per child, creates a financial incentive to take more children, to find more mixed-race babies, to separate more mothers from their sons and daughters. Let me be clear about what this is. This is not adoption. This is not rescue. This is systematic child abduction sanctioned by the state. This is cultural genocide designed to destroy the bond between African mothers and their mixed-race children. This is Belgium's attempt to erase the evidence of colonial sexual exploitation by removing the living proof. And the scale is staggering. Conservative estimates suggest between 15,000 and 20,000 Métis children were born during Belgium's colonial rule, 1885 to 1960. Most were taken from their mothers. Historian Sarah Heinzens, who has researched this extensively, believes the actual number could be even higher, up to 30,000 children forcibly separated. 30,000 stolen children. 30,000 mothers who woke up one day to find their babies gone. 30,000 fathers who knew their children existed and chose to let them be taken rather than acknowledge them. The institutions have pleasant names: Save Home, St. Joseph's Children, the House of Light, names that sound like charity, like compassion. But inside, these places operate as factories for cultural erasure. Their purpose is clear: to make these children forget they are half African, to make them grateful for being saved from their mothers, to make them ashamed of where they came from. Marie Jose is 6 years old when she arrives at the Save Mission in Katanga in 1950. She remembers her mother's face, remembers being held, remembers singing. Then men in white habits come to her village. They speak to her mother in Flemish and French, languages her mother doesn't understand. They take Marie Jose's hand. Her mother screams, tries to hold on. One of the white men pushes her mother to the ground. Marie Jose is carried away. She never sees her mother again. At the mission, Marie Jose learns the rules immediately. Never speak your African language. Swahili, Lingala, Kikongo, all forbidden. French or Flemish only. Never ask about your mother. Mother is a forbidden word. The nuns tell the children, your mother's abandoned you. We saved you. You should be grateful. Never practice African customs. No African songs. No African food. Except as punishment. No African names. Marie Jose becomes Marie Josephine. Her Congolese middle name is erased from all documents. The children sleep in dormitories. 50 beds in a row, iron frames, thin mattresses, cold sheets even in the tropical heat. They wake at 5:30 a.m. Chapel prayers for an hour. Breakfast, thin porridge. Then school, reading, writing, arithmetic, all in French. Catholic catechism, lessons about Belgium, a country none of them have ever seen, described as their true homeland. Afternoons are work. The girls learn sewing, cooking, laundry. European domestic skills to prepare them for service in white households. The boys learn carpentry, mechanics, agriculture. Discipline is brutal. Physical punishment for speaking African languages. Public humiliation for asking about mothers. Beatings for any African behavior. dancing, singing in mother tongues, showing excessive emotion. The goal is to make these children white in everything except skin, to make them reject their African half, to make them believe their African blood is contamination requiring constant cleansing. But the cruelest aspect is the lies. The systematic lies told to these children about their origins. Most are told their mothers are dead. Some are told their mothers were prostitutes who abandoned them. Others are told their mothers sold them to the mission. Almost none are told the truth, that their mothers were forced to give them up, that their mothers had no choice, that their mothers likely grieved for them every day. And the fathers? The Belgian fathers who created these children. They are presented as unknown, anonymous, impossible to trace. In reality, colonial authorities know exactly who many of these fathers are, keep records, but revealing their identities would cause scandal, would force acknowledgement, would require Belgian men to take responsibility. So the information is sealed, hidden. The children grow up believing their fathers didn't care enough to claim. When the truth is worse, their fathers cared more about reputation than their own children. Jean-Pierre, born 1945, describes his experience. They told us we were lucky, that we were chosen, that being Métis meant we were better than full Africans, but we had to prove it by acting European. We had to be more Catholic than the Belgians, more obedient, more grateful. But no matter what we did, we were never Belgian enough, and we were forbidden from being Congolese. The psychological damage is profound and intentional. These children develop what psychologists now recognize as severe identity trauma. They don't know who they are, rejected by white society because of their African blood, cut off from African society because of their forced European upbringing, belonging nowhere, accepted by no one, living in permanent limbo. Some children resist, try to maintain connections to their African identity, hide conversations in Lingala, whisper stories about their mothers at night, share African songs in secret, but resistance is dangerous. Those who refuse to assimilate are punished more severely. Some are transferred to even stricter institutions. Some are denied food. Some are beaten regularly as examples to others. And through it all, the mothers are out there, searching. Many Congolese mothers spend years trying to find their stolen children. They travel to missions, beg to see their children, are turned away at gates. Some manage to glimpse their sons or daughters through fences, call their names. The children are forbidden from responding, told those women are strangers, liars, told their real mother is the Virgin Mary and their real father is God. Historian Asumani Budagwa has documented dozens of these attempts. Mothers would walk hundreds of kilometers to reach the missions. They would bring food, gifts, anything to see their children. The missionaries would refuse, would threaten to call authorities. Some mothers camped outside mission walls for weeks, hoping for a glimpse. Security would eventually chase them away, often violently. The missions operate this way for decades. Through the 1930s, 40s, 50s, thousands of children passed through their walls, all receiving the same message: your African half is shameful. Your mother was nothing. Your father was generous for allowing your existence. Belgium is saving you. You should be grateful. But in 1960, everything changes, and it gets so much worse. Congo gains independence from Belgium on June 30th, 1960. Decades of brutal colonial exploitation finally end. The Congolese people celebrate, dance in the streets, reclaim their country, their resources, their dignity. But for the Métis children in the missions, independence doesn't mean freedom, it means exile. Belgian authorities panic. With Congo now independent, with Congolese people now in power, what will happen to these institutions full of mixed-race children? Children who are living evidence of Belgian colonial sexual exploitation? Children whose very existence embarrasses Belgium? The decision is made quickly. Evacuate them, all of them. Send them to Belgium, immediately. The operation is massive and chaotic. In the months before and after independence, thousands of Métis children, some as young as 5, some as old as 18, are loaded onto planes and shipped to Belgium. No consultation, no warning. Most don't understand what's happening. They're told it's temporary, told they're going for education, told they'll return. It's all lies. Monique Bitubingji was 14 in 1959 when she was sent to Belgium. They woke us up in the middle of the night, gave us each one small bag, told us to pack our most important belongings. We were driven to the airport before dawn. I remember looking out the airplane window as we took off, watching Congo disappear below. I didn't know I would never see it again. Didn't know I was being permanently exiled from the only home I'd ever known. The children arrive in Belgium to a country that doesn't want them. Belgium in 1960 is deeply racist. The few Africans living there face constant discrimination. These mixed-race children from Congo are seen as foreign, dangerous, reminders of colonial sins Belgium wants to forget. They're placed in more institutions, orphanages, group homes, foster families who treat them as servants. They face racism at schools, called racial slurs, beaten by classmates, told to go back to Africa, the Africa they were forcibly removed from. And the cruelest part? The records. Every child's file, documents that might contain information about their mothers, their fathers, their villages, is either destroyed or sealed. The Belgian government claims this is to protect privacy. The reality, it's to hide evidence. Evidence of colonial sexual exploitation, evidence of systematic child abduction, evidence that would allow these children, now adults, to find their families. For decades, the Métis survivors have no legal recourse, no way to access their own histories, no way to find their mothers. Many mothers are still alive in Congo, still searching, still grieving, still hoping, but there's no system to reconnect them, no database, no official effort. Belgium buries the entire program under layers of bureaucracy and silence. Some survivors manage to return to Congo as adults. They search villages based on fragmentary memories. Ask elderly people if they remember a woman who lost a child in the 1940s or 50s. Some find their mothers. These reunions are heartbreaking. Women in their 70s and 80s finally embracing the children stolen from them 50 years earlier. Other survivors search and find nothing. Their mothers are dead. Their villages no longer exist. The trails are too cold. For 60 years, Belgium denies everything. Refuses to acknowledge the Métis program. Refuses to open the archives. Refuses to help survivors find their families. Then in 2015, something changes. The Métis survivors organize, form advocacy groups, begin telling their stories publicly. Métis de Belgique, Collectif Métis de Belgique. These organizations demand justice, demand apologies, demand access to their stolen records. International pressure builds. The United Nations Human Rights Council investigates. Calls Belgium's actions crimes against humanity. Journalists publish exposés. Historians publish research. Belgium can no longer hide. In April 2019, the Belgian government issues an official apology. Prime Minister Charles Michel acknowledges that the forced separation of Métis children was a targeted segregation policy that caused unbearable suffering. But the apology comes without reparations, without full access to archives, without systematic help to reunite families. Many survivors call it hollow. They apologize, but won't give us our files, says Noël Verbeken, president of Métis de Belgique. They say they're sorry, but won't compensate us for stolen childhoods. They acknowledge wrongdoing, but won't help us find our mothers before they all die. This is performative guilt without real justice. As of 2024, the fight continues. Survivors are now in their 70s and 80s. Their mothers, those still alive, are in their 90s. Time is running out. Every month, another mother dies without ever seeing her child again. Every year, another survivor dies without knowing their father's name. The window for justice is closing, and Belgium's responsibility extends beyond the Métis. This story is part of a larger pattern. Colonial powers across Africa created mixed-race populations through systematic sexual exploitation, then punished the children for existing. The French did it in Indochina, the British did it in Kenya, the Portuguese did it in Angola. But Belgium's program was particularly systematic, particularly cruel, particularly focused on total cultural erasure. This is not ancient history. The survivors are alive today, still searching, still demanding their stolen histories be returned. still fighting a government that apologizes in words but refuses true restitution. The stolen children of Congo are still stolen, still exiled from their own identities, still living proof that colonial violence doesn't end when colonies gain independence. It echoes through generations, through children who grew up not knowing their mothers, through grandchildren who will never learn their full heritage, through great-grandchildren who inherited trauma they don't understand. Belgium stole more than children. It stole lineages, stole connections, stole the fundamental human right to know where you come from. This is Belgium's hidden shame, not hidden anymore, but still unresolved, still demanding justice, still waiting for Belgium to do more than apologize, to open every archive, to compensate every survivor, to actively help reunite the families it deliberately destroyed. Until that happens, the theft continues, the violence continues, the colonial crime remains unpunished, and somewhere in Congo maybe there's an elderly woman, 90 years old, who still remembers the morning soldiers came to her village, still remembers her baby being taken, still remembers screaming, still wonders if her child survived, still hopes that somehow, impossibly, she might see that face one more time before she dies. That is Belgium's legacy. That is what colonization really means. Not just political domination, not just economic exploitation, but the deliberate, systematic destruction of the most fundamental human bond, mother and child, and the refusal, decades later, to make it right.